So this last panel is fitting that we're closing out this summit with this. This is a computer scientist, statistician, engineer, and architect walk into a bar. And we want to figure out how to make AR accessible to the world. As we heard a lot the last 2 days, but really, what's it going to take to make it accessible? And all of us have played and are playing and will play an interesting role in this. So we have Ken, who Academy Award. I've never seen the Academy Award, but I know some people walk around with it. You should have a hologram where you can kind of show it off.
One day I will.
Yeah, Academy Award-winning computer scientist, NYU. We have Alex, who works at TED, which I think is the third most respected media property online, and his job, get this, is to source technology. He sources the speakers that talk about technology for the stage. He sources the experiences to bring tech to people. He may describe his job a little differently, but that's how I see it. We have a friend on many levels, NYU grad, and IIT Bombay, and works at the New York Times, a little paper down the road. And they've gone all in on Google Cardboard 360, and he's thinking about how to make content accessible and thinking about AR. And then we have Katie, who's an amazing architect, but has thought about designing communities and helping to facilitate things, and been a great colleague and partner in TEDx Beacon Street. Gotten over 200 million views for the talks that we've done, and a lot of them have been about technology, a lot of them about the technologies that kind of roll up or are contributing to AR being a thing. So who wants to go first?
Hi, I'm Karthik Patanjali, and I work on immersive storytelling for the New York Times. So we've been doing mostly 360 video, and we're getting into more of interactive 360 VR and AR content. And I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So New York Times, is its circulation flat, plummeting, or going up?
Oh, we're fading.
Yeah.
That's what people say.
Yeah. So yeah. So are you betting? So are you doing 360 and some of this other stuff because that's the way to? Because while the Boston Globe I know is doing horribly in terms of circulation, I think Boston.com is doing incredibly well. And at a time when we need more editorial, more than ever, because these are bizarre times and a lot of big issues, we need good journalism. So are you doing this because it's fun and they just hired someone to do fun things? Or are you doing this because the Times is betting that this is going to be important for circulation, readership, for getting ideas out there?
Absolutely. We've been pretty serious about augmented reality and getting it into masses. That's kind of the goal. As opposed, we kind of have a different approach for this, in the sense that we have to be on all platforms. This emerging platforms, this off-platform opportunities as well. But the main thing that we'll focus on is being a part of the storytelling itself, as opposed to AR being a separate thing.
So part of what you do, is that the 360 Google Cardboard, or are you part of another group?
360 Google Cardboard is essentially what we do right now. Like NYTVR is the team that we've been doing.
So let's assume the audience hasn't gotten the memo on how successful or unsuccessful that campaign has been. How's it going?
Oh yeah, it's been received pretty well. So I don't know if you know it, but a year back we basically shipped millions of cardboards to every subscriber, and in partnership with Google, and it's been really well received. And it's a regular thing now. It's not a VR initiative that just started. It's a regular thing we do. VR is a part of our storytelling.
So do you have reporters actually going out there and creating this stuff, or is it third party creating this stuff?
It comes in two flavors. One is the daily 360, where there's a 360 video every day, and there's this longer format, more stereoscopic 360 or stereoscopic VR. That's something that we work on, our team works on. And it's usually longer, and it's published through the NYTVR app.
Yeah, great. All right, who dares to go next?
Yeah.
I have a question for you,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
So what do you would envision? I'm completely on board with understanding how the 360, the Syrian refugees in Paris, and I remember going to my mom's house when my mom is in her 80s, and and I helped her like use the cardboard on her iPhone, and I had seen all this great stuff. I'd seen the Vive, I'd seen all the amazing technological innovations, but somehow to me that was like the most significant VR moment. Was my mom in her 80s just looking around and in the aftermath of Paris, and just like, wow, this is culturally important. And so how do you envision that kind of crossing that line into people like my mom with telling a new story in AR as opposed to VR? How would that manifest itself?
Manifestation wise, I mean, just to take that example again, we had to send so many cardboards to so many people for someone to experience that. But I mean, with just to take the example of the announcement a couple of days back, where Apple basically announced the AR kit, that lowers the bar even more, where every phone that people have would potentially be capable of doing really good AR. So, I mean, the hardware is technically there as far as phone-based AR is concerned. And at least right now, that's where it reaches the masses. And it basically goes out to everyone. The journalism reaches most people. So, yeah, that's the application. And, I mean, as far as application of this is concerned, I mean, there's a lot of journalistic application as far as, scale, representing scale is concerned. That could not be done on a phone. And another thing that we find really interesting is the size of the phone is not a restriction anymore. Where, I mean, you put something on your space and you can literally, in a natural way, like assess it and look around it, as opposed to being restricted by this tiny size. And that's got to make a difference. That has a huge potential.
Great. Alex, Katie, any thoughts on this general topic?
For us at TED, that our mission is to spread ideas. So it's amazing that most people not know TED Talks, but not know the TED Conference. And then a few years ago, we tried to, let's share some video. Then TED become a media company instead of a conference company. And for us, AR is an opportunity to not just about the storytelling and the technology, but how to spread ideas through AR. So it's how to make people experience the concepts of the talks using AR. If it's possible, we'll try to reach that goal.
So a surgeon friend of mine told me that of the 2,000 TED Talks that are on TED.com, he thought there were only 1 or 2 talks on surgery. It says something that he went through all 2,000 and checked them. In terms of the tech talks, do you feel like AR, how many are there? Is it just a handful? And is it a priority to find AR tech to be at the conference, to be on stage? And what are you doing to find it? How's it going?
I'm technology curator, so my mission is to discover new amazing things and how it could impact the society. So AR is as a personal focus for me right now, because I can see that AR it will be probably more relevant than any other technology. When Apple bought Metaio some years ago, I could clearly see that. So it's not about if, but it's about when. And the thing for me is connecting the right persons with this, because of course we are not in a kind of bubble, because it's so new and demands so many knowledge to make this happen. So how to, of course, you can look at Instagram. Instagram is just a better version of Flickr, and the photo you see on Instagram you can see on any other device. So, but the AR content you can only experience on a restricted environment. So it's not about let's watch this AR experience on my big TV. Yeah. So how to cross media with AR?
So the way the New York Times is bending on 360, do you think one day all TED Talks or future TED Talks will have an AR component that people can experience it, or people, instead of hearing linear talks, can kind of choose how they want to experience the content? Is
That's
that
the
something
thing.
you're thinking about?
Not just with AR, with any other technology that can appear. It's about it will help to spread the idea. So it's the answer yes for sure.
Yeah. So Ken, do you remember? Is it the Cornell guy who did Pinch to Zoom? That was demoed in 2006 at TED. Jeff. Yes. Hahn. Just Jeff Hahn. Yeah. So Jeff Hahn demoed something that helped. Yeah. I think it was invented before, but Jeff was the one who gave the TED talk.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think technically that means he invented it.
Oh, of
He gave
course,
the TED talk.
absolutely. Or Apple invented it, right? Apple invented it. Apple
He
invented
ended up going
everything,
to
yeah.
work at Microsoft.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so at TED, something was shown that had been invented earlier. Do you see TED playing a role in helping to make some of this technology mainstream, or accelerating its adoption, or helping to spread the ideas? So
With that is everything about spreading ideas, worth spreading. So
Yeah.
if the technology can help to achieve that and help to society to be better,
Yeah.
for sure you will be with side by side with any initiative.
Yeah. And you're from Brazil, right? Rio?
I'm from Rio.
And I know, Rio is a dynamic economy, great place, but it is considered one of the BRICS, one of the emerging economies. Do you feel a personal role of trying to bring technology to those places of the world too?
When I was hired by TED, the main idea is, okay, let's have a outsider view of all of this. So I have friends from all around the world, and because I think that world is too big to just be confined to our close relations. And then that year I bring a speaker from Finland, one from Japan, and one from India, because it's about really think outside the box. So I want to give a voice for people for any place in the world, not just in Brazil, and also how to make that, because right now the startup ecosystem in Brazil, there's many AR initiatives in Brazil, but almost like copycats. Yeah. And where's the innovation? In many countries are following that path with AR and VR, just copycats. I want to see real innovation, because it's a completely different environments that can come up with really brilliant ideas, not just copying stuff.
Sure. Hey, can you introduce me to this device? I think some of the challenges are the cost of the hardware and access. Do you think this is going to be helpful in things like this?
I think somebody in one of the earlier panels described it. We put this together so that it would be something that was affordable. But unlike the HoloLens, you just hold this up like this. This is kind of a this is a device that is very, very accessible to school children. It's very cheap. It is extremely wide angle in view, but it's really meant to be, from the ground up, a hobbyist device. I could see people developing content with this. I don't see this as the end game. I think the end game is what when you get the commodity price on the much smaller glasses like form factor. As I said, that's going to take about 5 years. But the phones, as you mentioned, things like this, all of them provide transitional access so that people can start developing content and understanding what the experience is like. They're never meant to be the end game of the thing, but they're necessary.
But we can see some really poor developers having that, and then in Africa or whatever, start creating content, even creating technical solutions with using that.
Absolutely. And then at some point, the prices of the things that are going to be the kind of the glasses format will go down, so they'll have those, but meanwhile they don't have to wait. So we are helping to cross the digital divide for, I'm a creator even though I'm not part of the first world. Yes.
So Katie, the architect, designer, design thinking member of the panel, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think a lot of what has interested me in hearing what people have been talking about is, where are we in the evolutionary arc, the hockey stick of this new technology? And the resounding feedback has been very, very early stage, whether you're thinking about it in the, we're in the Model 2 cellular on our way to a smartphone. I think about it from a UX perspective of the very early life of the web and what people were doing when the internet became this new tool for design. And I think of like the dancing baby or super, super early websites. And it sort of feels like that's where AR is, at least not in this room, but out there in the world. It's just in its infancy, and people are just kind of trying to figure out, what can I do with this thing? And what's exciting is as soon as more and more people, beyond academia, beyond sort of great institutions are experimenting, and it goes from tinkerers to the early adopters to the mainstream to ubiquitous, to the point where we forgot we never had this. Watching that curve and imagining that place that's at the top of the hockey stick is really interesting.
So you guys just going down the row, and Ken, you'll have the last word. If people want to work with the New York Times and help get content for some of this innovative stuff, how should they work with you? What are you looking for? What would be helpful? What do you want to source? And any secrets you can reveal that we don't know about? Alex, same thing. How do we work with you? How can we help you? Any secrets you want to reveal? And then Ken, you're the brightest person I know on AR, however you want to end this panel and this conference.
Secrets. I mean, we're always open to collaborating, and I mean, most of the things we might produce in-house, but there's always a way to collaborate on something, and especially when projects get really ambitious, we collaborate with people, and we're really open to it, and you can directly approach me or other people to work with us. We're really excited to collaborate as well.
Great. For TED, it's about the idea, always the idea. So the technology can be cool, the storytelling can be amazing, but the big companies or small companies or even individuals, it's always about the idea. So if you know someone that can really have some amazing concept, just send it to me, because I'm always talking with people, always trying new technologies, and then to make that people have a voice, to inspire other people to do amazing things.
So Alex, you saw the demos, you heard a lot of the presentations today. Did anything, you don't have to name names, but did you see or hear anything that you may want to follow up with and get involved with your TED community?
I think that's it's clear that it's not so expensive to do amazing things with the AR. Most companies are trying to create platforms instead of just gadgets, and so these platforms are accessible now. So anyone can try new things with AR right now. They don't need to wait to anything. So if you know someone that's trying something amazing, just send it to me.
So either you're evading my question or you didn't understand it. Did you see something today or yesterday that you think is worthy of TED?
Something that I experienced here.
And you don't have to name it.
No, sure. Being totally sincere here. Many things I saw here could be on TED, but they would need a strong idea behind it, not just a technology per se, otherwise it would be just a tech demo. Yeah. Should have a powerful idea behind it to be on stage with that.
So in your pocket you have a short list of like 5 people, maybe David Smith is one of them that you might want to follow up with?
Maybe, who knows?
Okay. All right, Ken, smartest guy I know on AR, what are you thinking? How do you want to bring this home?
So I think what you said was very profound, going back to the hockey stick. Bill Buxton talks about the long nose of innovation. So Myron Kruger inventing pinch to zoom in 1972 was actually necessary. And then the early 80s, Bill Buxton's own group and many other people at University of Toronto and elsewhere were doing it because they sort of inherited the idea, and then they built on it, and then they built on it. Of course, there wasn't a marketplace for it because Moore's law has this weird effect. It's like, okay, Ivan Sutherland, Jaron Lanier, Mark Bolas, all these people doing, AR and VR, and then something happens where the technology becomes inexpensive enough, and a whole bunch of other things happen, and a market happens, and then suddenly it's everywhere, and people say, hey, where did that come from? So I think that what the people here can do, and I think they're going to do, whether I say it or not, because everyone already knows this, is our job as people who cross over from the different areas, people who have interesting applications, people who can write about a positive use as a science fiction. People,
Holodeck.
Holodeck, there you go, 1987.
No, your holodeck.
Oh, on my holodeck, yeah. We came to it 30 years late, yeah. Gene Roddenberry, 1987. So just people who can do anything they can to connect the pieces for everybody about what this means for society, what it could mean, why it's not just, as many people have said, it's not a toy. It's not a toy any more than film was a toy, even though that's the way it was received in 1895. See the potential of it, create the potential of it, show other people, even with tools that are really just early prototyping tools, because somebody is going to see what you do and is going to say, I get it, and then they're going to take it to the next step. So I suggest everyone to go out here, and any way you can, just go ahead and do that. And when we come back here next year, I think we'll see what you've accomplished.
So congratulations. This is the densest conference of talent to make this space work. Want to have the audio guys, could you stand up and bow? Can you stand up? Our amazing videographers, and if the guy who's remote in Massachusetts could also stand up and bow. Yeah, and Matt, the air traffic control leader of the band, and then all of you, thank you. Let's go party at PJT.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.